What's up, everybody? This is Mario, and I'm back with another episode of Endurify. And the past couple of episodes, I've been talking about how to kind of tie together a weekly training cycle. And before that, I talked about some of the essential workout series that you need to have if you're training for a half Ironman or an Ironman. And what I want to do today is I want to build on the essential workouts in the weekly training cycle and start to talk about what monthly training cycles start to look like. It's really under the umbrella of long-term training cycles. So in the same way that training days and the different kind of sequence of training days are important, it's important to include that in weeks and months. And so we all will benefit from incremental training changes from day to day, but those incremental training progression from week to week will also help you benefit the most if you approach the training this way over the course of several months or a year. And you ideally want your training to progress not only day by day, but over a period of weeks and months and build up over time towards your big race day. And so in Be Iron Fit, Don Fink breaks down the cycles into a base training phase, a build training phase, and a peak training phase. And he also has a recovery and kind of maintenance, which happens after the race. But what I want to talk about today is the first three phases, base, build, and peak, because that's what I use in my training programs as well. So if you sign up for coaching, then you would likely follow this base, build, and peak training phase. And so there's kind of three different phases to the training. And so with the base training phase, this is the first phase, and it's typically around 10 weeks if it's a full Ironman, because we're looking at about a 30-week training plan for a full Ironman. Now, this first 10-week base training period focuses on three different things. One, just acclimating you as an athlete to triathlon training, just getting through the habits of getting those workouts in. Two, establishing and building that aerobic base, kind of the low intensity, solid aerobic base. And then three, building sport specific techniques. So this phase is all around going slow and focusing on your technique, because if you do that consistently, your aerobic training is going to make you feel really good. Your body naturally becomes more fit, leaner, and faster, and it learns how to burn fat more efficiently as fuel, which is what you're going to need to do on race day when it comes to the iron distance. And these workouts aren't really like mentally grueling, because you're going pretty slow. You're going at a lower intensity and a lower heart rate. And so Don Fink thinks of this, and he refers to this as making sure that you're getting that time in the zone. And that's what he teaches and preaches to all of the athletes that he coaches, because this training phase is all about keeping your heart rate within the proper range, within the proper zone, and ultimately just putting in the time. And this is really a time where you want to be as patient as possible and resist the temptation to go faster. So it's all about kind of going slow, going at an easy pace, and making sure that it's kind of enjoyable at that pace. So then once you build up after those first 10 weeks, that slower, low intensity base, it's time to start to build. And that's the second phase, which is the build training phase. Now, this build training phase is also around 10 weeks. And this is where we start to prepare ourselves to take on kind of the challenging training of the final phase. And in this build phase, you continue to increase the duration of the training sessions. You introduce some high intensity sessions, and then the training starts to become a little bit more race specific. Now, if you're training for a full Ironman, this build phase would likely include a race in the Olympic distance event, which is, 1.5 kilometer swim, 40K bike, and a 10K run. So that is typically something that you'll see in this base training phase. And like I mentioned, you're going to start to introduce a little bit more high intensity, and that is going to increase just gradually. And that's all because of this concept of gradual adaptation, which is, you need to give your body time to adapt to the changes that you're making. And again, you don't want to increase the intensity or the duration too much at this point, because that's going to increase your chances for injury. So that's the build phase. You're starting to get a little bit more duration, a little bit more high intensity, and your training is starting to become a little bit more race specific, and you're going to get the Olympic distance event. Then we get to the last phase of training, which again is called the peak training phase. And this is the final 10-week training phase, which is really kind of the most exciting, but it's also the most challenging part of training for an Ironman. This is the moment, and these are the parts where you are going to be dreading some of your workouts, honestly, on the weekends. It's going to be 5-hour bike rides, 6-hour bike rides, and then a 1-hour run or a 30-minute run. It's going to be an hour bike ride and then a 2-hour run on Sundays. So this is where you really want to increase your volume. And you increase the training durations and the intensities week after week after week until you kind of reach your peak 2 to 3 weeks before your race. And then you'll get into your taper before the actual race day. And during this taper, you bring down both the duration and the intensity of the training right up until race day. And if you do this properly, tapering is going to bring out the starting line. It's going to bring you to the starting line feeling rested and energized without having lost any of that fitness that you've gained over the previous 27 to 28 weeks. So that is kind of a big part of that peak training phase. So hopefully that just gives you a better idea of, once you have the essential workouts and once you start to coordinate and tie them together in a given week, you can start to see how there's you take a 30-week training plan, you divide that by 3, there's 3 10-week phases that all also tie together. And that just kind of helps you understand the science and kind of the strategy behind the training plan that you might be using. So with that information, if you are training for a half Ironman or an Ironman, start to break down how long the training plan is, and see if your training plan does include the base, the build, and the peak training phases. Because if not, that's a training plan that isn't strategically strong. It's not something that's designed to tie together from week after week and month after month, and it's something that you're going to want to consider. So if this is something that is interesting for you and it sounds like, yes, this is the type of strategy that you would want for your races, then reach out to me, mario@endurify.co, and we can start to talk about what coaching and what training would look like for you. I would love to create a personalized training plan using some of these strategies and using some of the tactics that I've talked about, and help you reach your goals. So again, if this is something that you're interested in, then go ahead and reach out to me, mario@endurify.co, and we'll be in touch about coaching and getting you set up for race day. So that's what I have for you today. I hope that served you, and I really want to bring it back to you and ask you do you have a training plan that has this strategy implemented and this strategy laid out? And if not, reach out to me, and would love to get in touch with some coaching. So again, that's what I have for you today. I hope that served you, and I hope you all have an amazing day.